What was the cringiest thing you did in your first relationship? We planned, to the minute, when our first kiss would be. Not too bad, right? We were both nervous, and it was both of our first relationships. I made a website with a countdown clock. My first girlfriend told me that she would break up with me if I didn't tell her that I would break up with her if she didn't kiss me. So she wanted me to blackmail her into kissing me by having me threaten to break up. I wasn't going to break up with her if she didn't kiss me, so I refused to say that I would. So she broke up with me. Was walking her home anticipating kissing her for the first time at her doorstep and kept licking my lips because I didn't want to kiss her with a dry mouth. Halfway to her house she looks at me and says stop doing that. I realized I probably looked really creepy. We were in 7th grade and had been dating for maybe 2 weeks. I printed a marriage certificate and showed it to her the first time she came over to my house. She called her mom and asked to go home immediately. Never talk when we actually saw each other, but texted constantly when we weren't in the same room. Well, she said that she thought we would be better off just being friends, so I decided that I needed to do some big grand gesture to prove my love. It always worked in the movies, so what could go wrong? I practiced singing the song for weeks on my ukulele and figured that I would wait until after her softball practice was done and surprise her. I sang You're Beautiful by James Blunt. It's a fucking miracle anyone talked to me after that. We took a break and I posted a video to Creep by Radiohead with the caption for that special someone. I almost cringed off my chair writing this. We had been texting back and forth, so I knew going to his house I would lose my virginity. Dude opens the door wearing a full suit for the occasion and escorts me holding my hand into his bedroom. Jesus Christ. First real girlfriend in high school. We used to talk over the voice calls on MSN Messenger late at night. She wanted to just hear my voice, and I very quickly ran out of things to say, so she said I should just read whatever book I had around. She spent the next 30 minutes listening to my Your New Gateway Computer and How to Use It booklet. I was 17. We had just had a fight. I drove to his house and blasted Scars by Papa Roach from my car and just stood awkwardly at the end of the driveway waiting for him to come out. I really wish this weren't true. Told her I loved her within the first 24 hours at the school parking lot. Classic schmoss B. I was 17 over 18. First GF gave me a BJ. I was still a virgin. I kissed her right afterwards, not thinking she's still have a mouthful of cum. Yeah, snowballed. Anyways, this lead her to believe I liked that. So she did it to me repeatedly. Keep in mind this is 93 over 94, so no internet to realize this isn't normal. I also grew up really fucking sheltered. After about 4/5 months I finally tell her, could you spit it out before kissing me? She responds, oh, I thought you liked it. I always thought it was weird. Probably got snowballed 20 times or more in that time period. TLDR, first GF snowballed me. I didn't mention I didn't like it for 4/5 months. Let my mom purchase custom matching airbrushed shirts of 2 people kissing with my girlfriend and my name on them. I'd report my mom for child abuse if she suggested that. Back in 8th grade, I could not wrap my head around the obvious signals he was giving me that he was not as into the relationship as I was. I was extremely clingy and would draw doodles of us and write the mushiest notes to him on the daily. I would quiz him on what he liked about me on AIM every night. Fishing for compliments from him constantly. Making up a new pet name every week. My best friend was dating his best friend, who most likely felt the same reluctance due to the intensity, and we would arrange double dates that were mostly me and her trying to find a way to corner the boys and make out, which was extremely creepy behavior. Looking back on it, reading my journal from that year is horrifying. Wish I could go back and apologize for the cringe. If you're reading this, sorry about that shit, Mitchie Poo. After I saw Eric propose to Donna on that 70s show, I went out and got a 25-cent ring from the local Pizza Hut and proposed at school in front of everyone. I was 16. She wanted to give me my first blowjob, which I was all for. I was unsure of etiquette, so I didn't give any warning for the finale. It caught her by surprise. She choked, had an asthma attack from it, All I could do was pat the top of her head a couple times and say thanks, champ. He French kissed me after eating a bacon double cheeseburger with onions and all sorts of other stinky stuff. I told him I had a bad experience with French kissing with a guy before him. Lies. He was my first kiss of V, and I would appreciate if he never did it again. Bonus cringe. I rubbed vapor rub near my eyes to make myself cry when I broke up with him and told him I was overwhelmed and needed to focus on school. I was in 8th grade. Had my first relationship at age 17. We were each other's first for everything. Basically only ever gave him handjobs cause he wasn't very hygienic. He insisted on keeping his underwear on, so I'd have to rub him over his boxers. He'd come inside his boxers and then leave them on for the rest of the day. The odd time he didn't have boxers on, he'd grab a sock and come inside of it and throw it in the laundry pile. His mom did all the laundry. So disgusting every time I think about it. She started to ignore me at school. This was like maybe 1 or 2 weeks after we started dating. I called her house like 6 or 7 times one afternoon after school until her mom picked up, who was basically furious because I had been calling. I explained to her that Alexa was ignoring my calls. I hear in the background, "Alexa, why aren't you answering the phone?" To which she responds, "Because he's weird and he just keeps calling." I hung up the phone and went to my room. I carved her name in my wall with a pen. I still cringe about it to this day. I hit my girlfriend with my car. It was a complete accident. We are still friends, and it is a story that still comes up in conversation every now and then. I was super shy back in the day and I really liked this guy who had weirdly flirted with me in one of our classes. He told me I looked like some random celebrity when I wore my hair down and how hot she was, so I never wore my hair up again for the entirety of school. I replied later by slipping a note in his locker, but didn't sign it. A few days after that, I threw in a t-shirt I thought he would like. He didn't know who it was from until weeks later when he finally wore it to school to see if anyone said something. My BFF at the time did, and he realized it was me. Super creepy on my end. We ended up dating for a day before we broke up because we were stupid kids. Now, 15 years later, we reconnected and are now married. So totally worked as planned. My first makeout session with someone was with my first girlfriend. We were in her bedroom, turned out the lights, and went at it on the floor of her room. After a while I feel something wet on my face. I didn't want to stop, so I just ignored it and carried on. She notices it too, and decides to turn on the light, because something is really wet on our faces. Light comes on and turns out I'd had a massive nosebleed, and there was blood everywhere. I was covered in it, she was covered in it, and there were blood stains all over her room. If that wasn't embarrassing enough, when she went to the bathroom to clean up, her mum caught her in the hallway. She sees the blood and immediately screams. Her assumption was that I was beating her daughter up and I get chucked out the house. Took a long time and explaining for me to show my face there again. Also lost my virginity to the same girl to cool and the gangs celebrate. That was cringy as hell too. Was giving him my first blowjob and at the same time trying to figure out what I was going to do when he finished. He, on the other hand, unexpectedly finished in my mouth. No warning or nothing. I didn't like it, so I spit it out onto his chest. Broke up with her because my best friend told me to. We were perfectly fine together, but I guess I kinda worshipped the guy and his advice. He later tried asking her out when we split. We were all 14 to 15.